Hi, it's Dr. Noel Williams, August 3rd, 2020, COVID update, Optimal Health Associates. It's try number 3 this evening because I have the gift of being politically incorrect and Kim's helping me with that. So let's do COVID statistics. I'm trying to be positive. There's not a lot of positive. There's almost 19 million cases in the world, 700,000 deaths. Again, I'm rounding. 4.3 million in the United States, 153,000 deaths. 41,000 cases in Oklahoma, 450 deaths. So the cases are expanding. Dr. Birx, who I was criticizing a little bit yesterday, which is really not that big of a deal, because she was going around saying, oh, there's a pandemic everywhere and it's all over the country. Well, that was true. My issue with her is she doesn't offer any solutions. She's just saying it's awful and we need to wear masks. First was getting criticized by one part of the aisle for not doing enough, and then she got criticized by her own group for saying there's a massively out of control pandemic in the United States, which I think, hold on, Kim, are we having an out of control pandemic in the United States with COVID?
Indeed we are.
I think we are, so I don't think she's being accurate. I mean, we had 1.8 million cases last month and 25,000 deaths, so it is out of control. It is out of control, which is why we need to take our vitamins and be ready and be set and be organized in case we get exposed or get sick. And speaking of exposure, I had multiple calls today at the office of people who'd gotten exposed, and we went through, again, the zinc pulse, making sure you're on your vitamins, what you do. And the group that's starting to expose people is the 18 to 21-year-old set, predominantly the 18, 19, 20s. Because a lot of them are getting ready to go to college. OU's going to start in a week and a half. So they're having little get-togethers and parties. And like any smart, genius-level intellect in a 19-year-old, you don't listen to people like me or any of us adults because you want to be with your friends, which is normal. So don't get real mad at them. But the bottom line is they are now spreading it amongst themselves. So they're going to be able to do what? Bring it home before they leave. So you have to be ready for that in your household. Again, don't panic. Just know it's going to happen. The other thing is what happened in France when they opened the schools back up in the spring. There was a pulse of cases the first week, and a lot of people thought, oh God, the schools are the source. No, it turned out all the cases were pre-existing to the schools opening. It's going to be the same thing at OU in the next week and a half, at OSU, and at colleges across the country. These kids are going to go to the school. They're going to get a little sick. There's going to be a pulse of cases, but it should settle down, and that's what happened in France, and that's what we're hoping for. The number one thing is what's a primary exposure. We'll use the CDC definition, which I think is a little stricter than I like, but it's reasonable. It's 15 minutes face-to-face within 6 feet. And if you're not in that situation, it's not so much a primary exposure. If you both have masks on, if there's a partition between you, if you're a teacher and your students, or a face mask, you're in really, really good shape. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have a mask on, they don't have a mask on, you don't have either a face shield or a plastic partition, there's the possibility of spread if you're just in the raw, as the saying goes. So let's really think about that and be careful. Everyone needs, again, zinc, vitamin D, fish oil, melatonin, again, omega-3. Omega-3 is EPA plus DHEA. Those are the two different subsets of the animal-based essential fatty acids. There's ALA, which is the one I can pronounce, alpha-linolenic acid, that's in plants, but that isn't the solution for this. It's the EPA plus DHEA. It's in eggs, yolks, it's in fish. It's a lot easier to take a capsule of it, or they're capsules. Krill oil is a brand. There's lots of brands. Take 2 to 3 every day as long as you don't have a contraindication to fish oil and you're not taking a lot of aspirin. So we want people to be uninflamed is the message. So let's talk about vaccine information, because we're getting this push on the vaccine, and we have Operation Warp Speed. And Operation Warp Speed is also known as Operation Idiot Stick. I don't know what else I'd call it, because you want to rush a vaccine. Let's go into vaccines for a second. The hydroxychloroquine stuff is, if hydroxychloroquine gets the emergency use order again from the FDA, there's going to be a problem, because then they can't do an emergency use order for a vaccine if there's a viable alternative therapy. And so that's an issue. And since the FDA is really pushing for a vaccine, which they've stated now multiple times in the last week, they're hoping for at least a 50% coverage rate. or at least some immunity rate. And you may need to get more, which sounds like an annuity to a big pharma, but that's just me noticing that. But the big thing to know is the PrEP Act, which is a formal law that provides complete and total liability immunity for any manufacturer of that vaccine. So the vaccine may not give you immunity, but the manufacturer has immunity from any lawsuits if the vaccine is allowed by the FDA under emergency usage or any usage. So rushing it really makes almost no sense because you don't know if it's truly safe. And if it isn't truly safe, the only person who's going to get stuck with the side effects and you have no resource to question what happened or the science is the person who got the vaccine. So it becomes a real problem to rush a vaccine. We don't want any rushed vaccines under any circumstances, and we certainly don't want a rush vaccine that then there's no liability for the manufacturers. And if there's no liability for the manufacturers, it is clearly established in medicine that when the manufacturers of instruments and materials and drugs have liability protections from what they're doing, they cut corners. It is a long history of that. There's built-in, I don't want to name any big pharmaceutical company names, you can do your own research, lawsuits where they had to pay hundreds of millions or even over $1 billion, and there was pre-planned monies for that built into their whole business plan. They figured, well, we'll market it this way even though we're not approved for it. We're going to get sued for it, but we're going to make so much money, we'll set aside $1 billion. That has happened, at least at that level once, but multiple other levels. So giving them carte blanche on liability means they aren't going to be held to the standards we want them to internally. And then the FDA is under pressure to get this thing approved. So again, lots of problems with a rush vaccine. So you don't want to get a vaccine that ends up withering your arm or turning you into some kind of mythical beast, we'll say a centaur, the thing with a human on top and a horse below or something crazy like that. And I'm not denigrating centaurs if any of you are out there, because you got to be careful anymore. So just remember that vaccines that are rushed aren't your friend, just like drugs that are rushed aren't your friends, just like surgical instruments that are rushed or surgical materials that are rushed. That isn't what we want. So we have to think about those things. On another interesting note, the fenofibrate, which is an old-time drug that binds essentially fats in your GI tract and can lower cholesterol, may have a role for fighting COVID. Some interesting data out of Israel on that. It works by depleting fats in your system, lowering your cholesterol, which drives fat content down in cells. The virus needs fat in the cell to reproduce and grow. So an interesting concept with that, which I'll be following. So that's really the summary. Kim, you said there was a couple questions, or can remember?
Oh, I didn't write them down. You can just look at them online.
Okay, we'll look at them online and answer. Everyone be safe. If you get exposed, do your zinc pulse. I figure in Oklahoma, at least, there's going to be a ton of exposures over the next 3 to 4 weeks because the number of cases are just skyrocketing. And that's not an exaggeration. It's the truth. And it's in that way in a lot of places, and it's probably going to start going up in some of the states that have not had as many cases in the past month or two. It's going to start picking up again. So be safe, be kind to everyone, and take care.
Questions about zinc pulse.
Zinc pulse.
I have these. How many times a week is safe?
So a zinc pulse is you're going to do either 150 to 200 milligrams twice a week, but you don't. If you do it at, let's say you did it today, Monday, you did 200 milligrams. You wouldn't do Tuesday, Wednesday. You could do it Thursday or Friday again if you just want to do it twice a week. So you have pulses of zinc to kill the virus.
Go ahead and say again what a zinc pulse is.
A zinc pulse is taking 50 milligrams every hour or two with food to hit 150 to 200 milligrams depending on your size. Again, very helpful. The people, we've had several reports back today of people who we did the zinc pulse with and hydroxychloroquine, and they had great results. Again, my numbers of people are small, but they are starting to accumulate in terms of effects that are positive. So again, part of the way that the hydroxychloroquine works is I'm just trying to get zinc into the cells. And when you take hydroxychloroquine, one of its mechanisms of action is you it's a zinc ionophore, which is a weird word, but it means you put zinc into the cells, and the zinc in the cell kills the virus. It knocks out the zinc finger protein, which, if you want to really get nerdy, look up zinc finger proteins. And once you understand that, you'll understand why zinc's important. So, or you just take my word for it.
So for people that have been taking it like ever since February or March, should they still be doing 50 milligrams every single day?
Like I've said multiple times, if you've been taking it for months, take the weekends off. You can take 5 days a week is fine for maintenance. And then what you do if you're taking 50 milligrams every morning and you think, oh gosh, I got exposed today, or oh, I feel like I have the flu or something, you take another 50 milligrams 3 more times that day to equal 200. If you're a smaller person, you weigh 125, 120, something like that or less, just get it to 150. If you do 200, you're fine too. But either way, take 3 days off, then you can do it again if you feel like you need it.
Is bone pain associated with zinc use?
Bone pain with zinc use? No, it's not. I'm sure anything's possible, though. I want to be clear. But no, it's not. Zinc has a tendency to upset the stomach, upset the stomach, upset the stomach. We've checked a bunch of people's zinc levels. I saw another one today, and someone who's been taking 50 milligrams a day of the product we happen to carry at the office. And she's small, relatively small. She's about 120, 125 pounds at 5'6". And her level was 83 or 82. It was just perfect. So that's usually what we're seeing. We haven't seen anyone's zinc level who was elevated yet in all the people we've checked. So again, zinc has a tendency to diminish its absorption with continual use because you get kind of caught up. So I think we're fine with that. So everything I've talked about with zincs, I've said 50 times already. So for those of you who've already heard it, sorry. All right. Thank you. Good night. Be safe. Wash your hands.